Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday's Mastery of the Middle conversation. And first, I'd like to start out by saying that I think Alethea did such an amazing job on Monday, and she's a hard act to follow, so I will do my best. And I want to also say thank you for one of the comments that we received this week. It was a wonderful perspective, and it was right on the heels of Lee's live on Monday that somebody had commented that they appreciate the fact that Lee and I have different perspectives, considering she's new in her walk as an entrepreneur, and I've been doing this a longer amount of time. And I've got to say that when I heard that, it made me stop and think that it's kind of interesting because I hadn't stopped and put it in that perspective before, because Lee and I are walking on this journey together, but she does. She has the ability to speak to people from the viewpoint of, I am actively where you are at. And so I really very much, even more, appreciate, good morning, to Lee, the fact that she has a different perspective than I do. And we spoke about this a little bit, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and it made me laugh. And I told her, I said, you have the ability to speak to people as if I'm right there with you. And I have the little bit more of an attitude of rub some dirt in it, you'll be okay, get back up, because of the length of my path that has been ever so long, and a lot of trials, tribulations, like we all have. I'm no different than anybody else. They're just my trials and tribulations. So I just wanted to say thank you for those perspectives this week. It made me think as well. And that is exactly the byproduct of doing something like this is, we do this to give. However, it's amazing the beautiful gifts that you receive in return. So thank you. Thank you to Lee, of course, for doing an amazing, amazing job on Monday. So I wanted to talk again, every Wednesday I'm going to be talking about mastery of the middle. And this is the subject that I talk about a lot in coaching too. So this actually, I have it written down on my notes in front of me because of this is something that I've used one other time. And I thought of it this week that this was very important to talk about today. So I apologize if I'm looking down. No, I got to add her comment here. You are, thank you. Lee, trust me, you inspire me every single day. So thank you so much. But this information called the long jump is something that I did in a coaching session one other time, but I've never used it publicly. So again, apologize if I look down at all. But we're going to kick it off with a story. So the story of the long jump. It took place in the summer of 1968, and it was the Olympics that were held in Mexico City. And there was a man from Oregon competing for the high jump, and he was a part of the men's high jumping team for the US. And the story is only relevant because he was 21 years of age and he was only 5'4". And so it was not really the typical thing that you would think that someone of that stature would be good at. Just quite honestly, if we sat there and looked at him versus, basketball players nowadays that are 7'5" or 7'6", one of them. That's a very big difference in height. So he only had the height actually to compete against a junior high athlete. And that's why it's so important to note that fact. His name was Dick Fosbury. And he was literally, I wrote this down because this is what I looked up about him a while ago, that he was considered no average athlete. Articles written about him called him a contrarian. And he was noted for his ability to disrupt conventional wisdom, take risks, and explore new possibilities. Kind of sounds like an entrepreneur to me. It's at least the mentality that we must have as entrepreneurs. So what was so extraordinary about this man at this moment? Well, he knew the rules of the game. The rules clearly stated you could clear the bar in any way you wanted as long as you cleared it. Well, everyone up until that time, the standard was to try and clear the bar facing down. He decided to jump backwards. And in one day, that same day, he advanced his jump by 6 inches. However, no one was still convinced. Even though he did something that no one had done before, despite these dramatic improvements, newspaper reporters just ridiculed him. They called him the world's laziest high jumper, and fans even laughed at him. He ignored all of it, didn't even let it bother him. And the article said that he ignored all of the naysayers. So the laughs actually led to eventually turning around into cheers because he took home the gold in 1968. The Fosbury flop is now the standard that is used by all high jumpers. And here are the lessons that we have for entrepreneurs. One, it often takes a beginner's mindset to spark change. The Japanese call this shoshin, and the beginner, which is called shoshin, is the beginner's mindset in Japanese. When you remain open to the possibilities, there is no good reason for status quo. You will be in the best position, and I apologize again. Remember, I'm reading this because I didn't want to get it wrong. You will be in the best position to create world change. That's shoshin. So that's our first rule. The second one is if you want to do anything new, the world will always try to beat you into conformity. Boy, that's interesting, isn't it? Anytime you want to do something new, the world will try to beat you back into conformity. And in fact, this leads to a conversation I had last night that I'm going to tie in at the end. And yes, I agree. He disrupted the established norm, and that's what we need to do, right? So back to the story for a brief moment. So Fosbury's coaches took him aside and advised him, stop doing it. You have to stop. The results were actually disastrous because he actually listened for a brief moment. He allowed other people's opinions to shape his perspective. The results were so disastrous that his jump regressed over a foot. So because of this 4'5", 4'5" or so man, he was able to add 6 inches. And then because he listened, he regressed more than a foot. He decided that all of the logic and advice was horrible, and he decided to go back to his flop. He maintained his technique and he perfected it. He worked on it. And because of it, he won the gold and he rewrote the handbook. Now, we're speaking about a shorter amount of time, and it was a very major change. But the lesson remains the same. So let's discuss the third option or the third rule. You must be willing to fail. That's it. I really don't have much to add to that one because the fear of failure is the primary reason why we are afraid to disrupt conventional wisdom. In the face of adversity, do we retreat and embrace the status quo, or do we push forward? So I've got one extra, actually 2. See, again, I apologize. This has been a little while since I looked at this. I apologize. There's 2 actually. I said 3, there's 5. I apologize. You should offer a viable alternative, meaning Don Fosbury was not willing to stand on the sidelines. He revolutionized by offering a better alternative. Once again, doesn't this sound just like what we need to do in our businesses? And the 5th one, the last one, promise I got it right this time, is contrarian thinking can be a superpower. Let me say that again. Contrarian thinking can be an actual superpower. The ability to disrupt established methods, find new ways in a superpower, it's very necessary and completely essential to creating the course, the path that we're on as an entrepreneur. With these principles, we can stay the course too. We need to allow ourselves to be real, to be super messy, and to be involved and become the super version of ourselves to make this work. Right now, I personally am in a season of busy, and I took on a new project last week, and I'm very happy with the project. I could not be happier. However, because of it, I had to accept that I had to make some exceptions, some new rules, new guidelines, and some new boundaries for myself, including making time for the people that I love above TV, movies, things of that nature. Go to bed earlier, get up earlier. And I'm back in that routine of early morning, early bed. that was something I needed to do to be able to establish myself in this season of busy. My reason for revisiting this and talking about this again today is simple. I still need these reminders. And that's why I decided to talk about this today, because this to me is very helpful to remind myself that the path I'm on is the right path, because I'm trying to create disruption and change. This now also, like I said, I wanted to tie it into a conversation that I had briefly last night with someone, that when we start on this path, just like his coaches, they were the naysayers, the fans were the naysayers. No one supported him, yet he was determined and he stayed the course. And so I wanted to say one thing about that, and this is very important, and this popped into my head after this conversation last night, that we won't always get the support we want. We get the support that we need. I honestly have no clue why that stuck with me, but I do know that that is important to say today. So we need to allow ourselves to be messy, keep going, keep getting back up. It's not about how many times we fall down. It's about how we get up, how quick we get up, and what we do to fix the mistake and learn from the mistake. So all I would like to do today is please remind everyone else to know that we actually just dropped our new podcast this week. Lee and I are not new to podcasting because we've ventured into it before. We've also been interviewed on podcasts. However, this is our first one together, and that's why it is so incredibly special to both of us. So please check it out. New episodes will be dropped every Tuesday in the group. They are also going to be available. They're available on YouTube, and they're about to be picked up on a couple other sources that I hope I can talk about next week. And please remember, on Wednesdays, which is today, I will try to remember to always announce this, that our spotlight of one of the group members will be going out on Wednesdays. And I am super excited about the first one. It's someone that I would like to get to know a lot better myself. And so that's why we decided to start doing this, is it's a way for us to increase visibility for each person in this group. So if you're interested in participating, please DM myself or Lee. And also, we're always looking for beautiful, amazing female entrepreneurs to come on our podcast, talk about their journey, their struggles, and of course, mastery of the middle. So I hope everybody has an absolute wonderful, wonderful rest of their week. And please remember, this is something that Lee actually said on our podcast the other day, and I told her we're stealing it as something to remind everyone, including ourselves, that if Lee and myself can do it, you can do it too. So please have an absolute beautiful day. I hope wherever you're at, it's not too cold. And I hope that everybody gets a chance to make some progress in their business today. So have an absolute wonderful Wednesday. I will see you back here on Friday morning with Alethea, of course. And Lee, you have a wonderful day as well. Thank you so much. Now everybody knows that forever I answer to Missy, by the way. So, which is really hysterical. I have absolutely love that Lee still calls me that. That's what she's called me our entire lives. But I think it's funny that professionally, I've never used Missy. So I guess the cat's out of the bag and I can start signing off as Missy then. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you on Friday.